fellow Daz Studio enthusiasts. This is Not From This World, and I want to welcome you back to another Daz tutorial. Before we get started, I just want to really thank all of you subscribers. I'm over 800 now, and so I'm really excited because I never thought my channel would get this big, but I'm approaching that benchmark of 1,000 followers. I had a goal to reach that before the end of the year. Don't know if I'll make it, but I really appreciate you subscribing and watching my videos. I hope they are very helpful. Now today we're going to look at one particular feature of our character that I think is really important to get right when we are rendering, and that is our character's eyes. So they always say, you know, that the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, when it comes to art, the eyes certainly are what is the most captivating feature of our character. And so today Milica is going to help us out along with her friend Adeline, and we are going to go through a couple simple things that might help you adjust your eyes, get them ready for a scene, and create the best render that you can. So I'm going to cover a few things like eye color. We're going to look at reflectiveness of the eyes. Then we're going to show you how to manipulate the eyes on the face, doing some different positioning, sizes, that kind of thing. Then I'll show you how I like to pose the eyes. And then finally we'll troubleshoot a problem that you may come up with when you are setting up your scene to render. So I'm going to go to a different camera here, and we're going to focus on Milica to start off with. And you probably know this, but your character is going to come with different eye colors. And so you already know, I'm sure, that we can change Milica's blue eyes to brown eyes by just clicking our character's eye color, and we can get some fantastic results. You know, I really love the Milica character. You know by now that she's my favorite character, but she does have some limitations to her eyes. We can make her eyes nice and blue, which I do quite a bit with some of my scenes. We can make her eyes a beautiful brown color, which matches her dark hair really well. And then Milica has a nice hazel eye color. And so, you know, we can change these colors, and then when we go to eye ray, we can really see the differences. So let's just check it out. I have noticed that with some of our characters, certain eye colors look better than others with lighting and such. I've had some issues in the past where I choose an eye color where the eye color is so light it kind of blends into the whites of our character's eyes. And I think with Genesis 8 that's not as big of a problem, but it definitely can be something that you need to think about. So I would run a test to see what color eyes I want for my character. I know in some cases I've just gone with a darker color eye because that blue eye or hazel eye just doesn't show up the way I want it to from, you know, a camera that's looking at the character from a distance. So that's just something to kind of think about. Now, what is really cool, man, those brown eyes look good on Milica, I have to say. But, you know, something that's really cool that you can also do is with eye color, you can choose really any character that you have and replace those eye colors. So Milica, for example, kind of has a limited amount of eye colors to choose from. So if I go to this character named Renee, and you can see, you can just check her out. So there's kind of a young version of Renee and an older version of Renee. But with her, she has more options under eye ray. She has a whole tab for eyes, and so you can see that she has some other colors like this nice green And if I just select this, it'll go right into Milica, and we'll have nice green eyes. And so Milica's character herself doesn't really have green eyes, but I can make some nice green eyes with my character by just choosing a different character. And so that is pretty handy. You know, not all of our surfaces really do well this way. Eyes are one of those exceptions where, you know, it's just that iris that's changing color. So we can use pretty much any character's eyes that we want. Now this green looks fantastic on Milica. I think she's beautiful with green eyes. When I was in college, I took anatomy and physiology, and in the lab class, I just happened to get assigned a lab partner that had the most mesmerizing green eyes. Her eye color is burned in my memory. She was pretty cute as well, but her eyes were amazing. So I like the green eyes on Milica. Okay, for the next thing, I'm going to keep it in iRay. Sorry if my computer is kind of noisy, but to see this, we need to stay in iRay. And that is the reflectiveness of her eyes. So if you notice, her eyes are pretty reflective. They have some nice reflection, and you want this in your render. If there's not any reflection in her eyes do not look real. You know, our eyes have moisture in them, and so we want kind of that reflectiveness to really get a good render. Now, you can play around with the eye's reflectiveness in our surface tab. So if I go to surfaces here, just going to click on surfaces, and then I'm going to click on my character. So it just says she's the Genesis 8 female. That's my Milica. So if I select just that character, I'm going to go down in my dials to where it says refraction index. Now right now, and I'm not sure why it's set up with just a question mark, but it's going to be somewhere between 1 and 1.5, kind of as a default. But if I select this, I can change her reflectiveness. So see, if I drop it down to just 1, and I think it goes down to 1, it gets rid of all the reflection, all that moisture, or most of that moisture within her eyeball. So you can see now we have a lot less reflective properties of that sclera of her eyes. Now if I boost this up, and let's say I go to 5, we're going to get like massive reflection. And so now her eye just doesn't even look real because we have so much reflection. So if you are not getting the desired reflection of her eyes, just use this refraction index. And honestly, I'm going to put it somewhere between 1 and 1.5. So I'm going to put it at 1.3. I think that's close to the default, but I think it really just gives her a nice reflective eye. So if your character's eyes look kind of dead, then play with that refraction index. Pretty cool. Really simple way to just enhance the look of your character by giving her some of that moisture look in her eyes. Okay, so let's get out of iRay because we don't really need it for my next little tip. So I'm going to keep the camera on Milica, and we're going to go back to our parameters tab. And in the parameters tab, if we select our character, we can have a lot of dials that will manipulate her eyes. So I'm just going to go to the search tab and I'm going to type in eyes. All right. I think if you are working with Genesis 9 characters, you just leave the S off of eyes and just type in eye. But with Genesis 8, which is my preferred character, you have to type in eyes, plural. But then you're going to get a bunch of choices. And you can kind of play around with this. You know, I have a Black Widow character selected, so her eyes automatically pop up. It says eyes pupils slit. So see, we can make her eyes look like snake eyes or cat eyes. There's lots of manipulations that we can do. So notice I've got fairy eyes, but if you scroll down, you can do weird stuff like hide eyes. So we can just get rid of the eyes completely. That's weird. I don't think I've ever used that. But then we can change the shape of her eye. So if you're trying to customize a character, you're going to have all of these dials to manipulate the position of her eye, where it's at. So for example, we can angle eyes. So it says we have eyes almond, eyes angled. So you can angle the eyes. All right, you know, things like that. We can also change the height of the eye, so you can raise it up or lower it down. So you can change the iris size, so you can make the iris is the color part of our eye. We can make that bigger or smaller, so that's kind of interesting. We can make her eyes look puffy, so you can kind of add bags to her eyes if she's super tired. You can dilate her pupils. So see, we can take those pupils and dilate them. So if she's in a dark room, or, you know, if she's been smoking something, she might have dilated eyes. Milika's not that kind of girl. Another thing that's interesting is we can change the size of her eyes. So we can make her eyes smaller, which looks kind of weird, or we can make her eyes bigger, which is very weird. It's like bug-eyed. But you know, this is exactly what Disney does. Disney takes their animated characters and they oversize their eyes because the human brain likes large eyes. This is why we like babies. Baby animals and baby humans have huge eyes because the eye is really the only structure in your body that never grows. So you're born with the same size eye that you're going to have your whole life. And so that small face has a big eye. And so we like that. Just, you know, subconsciously, we're attracted to bigger eyes. And so Disney takes advantage of this. They kind of manipulate the human brain by giving their characters larger eyes. Now, with me, you know, I do like larger eyes, you know, like the Big Bopper, you know, a big-eyed girl. A lot of men find girls with larger eyes very appealing. And so you can play around with her eye size. For my characters, I keep it more realistic, but you can, you know, manipulate that eye size any way that you want. You know, one last thing is it says eye width. We can spread her eyes further apart or put her eyes closer together. So, like in my other tutorial where I was talking about characters, this is how we can change the way our character looks so you can try and match it to, you know, a person that you want your character to look like. So, all of these are pretty handy. Now, along the same lines, in our Parameters tab, if we just select our character's face and we go to Pose Controls, you should know, I hope, that you can pose your character's eyes. And if you just type in eyes to the search bar, you're going to get all of the different eye poses. Again, if you're working with Genesis 9, just type in eye. Don't type in eyes. But if you're working with Genesis 8, you want to type in eyes. And this is how we can move eyes side to side. We can move eyes up and down. And so we can really, you know, enhance the look of our character by adjusting her eyes. You know, one of the things that I rarely do is keep her eyes looking at the camera when I'm posing. So when I'm posing a scene and I get the scene set up where I like how Milika looks, and you may have noticed this in a lot of my pictures, I'm going to take her eyes and I'm going to have her looking somewhere else. So I move her eyes side to side and then up or down. And that adds some realism too. You know, when person is acting naturally, they're not going to stare at the camera. So it's just a lot more appealing to our brain if the character is kind of looking away. Pretty cool. Now, one other thing, I did show this in one of my shorts, but you know, my shorts haven't been very popular. It's kind of funny because I tried to get some new clientele perhaps watching my videos by making some shorts, but my shorts really have kind of failed, so I've stopped making those YouTube shorts. If you like them, let me know. I can continue making a few. Maybe just characters in certain poses or something like that. But as far as a tutorial goes, they just weren't working out. So in one of my shorts, I showed you how you can take your character's eyes and have them point at something in the scene. So I'm gonna take Milika here, and we're gonna just adjust her eyes so she's basically looking at this camera. And I'm gonna have her eyes always look at the camera. We call it point at the camera. Now in order to do this, we're just gonna select her eyeball, and in her eyeball, we have to get rid of that eyes in our search tab. But if we select her eyeball and then select the right eye under parameters, you'll notice that there is a tab here that says point at, and it's defaulted to none. If we select that, we can choose what we want Milika to always stare at. So in this case, I have my camera, and it's just my first camera. So I'm gonna select the camera and hit accept. And then I'm gonna go to my left eye, select it in the parameters tab, and we'll have it point at the camera as well. And when I hit accept, the camera and Milika will be staring at each other the entire time. So see, if I move the camera, her eyes are gonna move with the camera. So she is always going to be looking at the camera. So what's kind of neat about this is you can position your camera where you want her to be staring, have her eyes point at the camera, and then posing can become easier because you are always having her look at that particular object. Okay, for the last thing, I just wanted to mention a troubleshooting item that can arise. And this is why I have my character Adeline. I've used Adeline for quite a few things. She's right up here. So it's Adeline for Genesis 8. She's a really pretty character too. I put her in a few comics. But the one thing I've noticed about Adeline is that when I go to render her, she often will have black rings, or she will have a completely black sclera. That's the white of your eye. And I could never figure out, like, why is she doing this? And so if I go to iRay, she shouldn't really have this. I actually was trying to set this up so that she would have this problem, and I actually wasn't successful. But in previous scenes that I used her in, she would have this kind of dark ring around her eyes, or that sclera would just be dark. So you can see this looks pretty good. The reason why you may get these black eyes or dark eyes is because your character is too far away from the 0 coordinates, the home base. So our XYZ coordinate system, she's too far away from it. So what I did is I took a copy of Adeline and I put her way out in the middle of nowhere. So by selecting this second Adeline, you can see she's at like negative 2075 on the X coordinate. Our Z coordinate, she's at a negative 2406. Now, a lot of times when you put a character far out from your home base of 000, she will get that dark sclera. Now, of course, when I'm trying to set up this tutorial, my girl just doesn't have that problem. But I want to show you how to fix it in case you come across the dark eyes. So if you get this black eye problem, there's a simple solution to it, and I don't really know why this works. It just does. It's been shown on several other tutorials, but I thought I'd throw it in here just to kind of complete our talk about eyes. But if you do get that problem, which she really doesn't have at this point, you'll notice if her eyes are really black, she almost will look like, sometimes like a demon. It'll be like almost completely black eyes. But if she has that problem, go over to render settings, click on optimization, and under optimization, you want to look at instancing optimization, and it's often set to memory. You want to change that to speed. And when you do that, you should fix the problem with her eyes. So if she has those dark eyes, try that. Or you can set up your scene so that she's always at the 000 coordinate system. Either way, you're going to get her sclera to turn white rather than stay black like a demon. So that's just a little tip there that you may have seen in other tutorials. Let's get a render going. Just for fun, we're going to set up a render, and we're going to render our two happy girls. Alrighty then, I think this is going to wrap up this video for today. I hope you learned something. Just remember that keep your character's eyes in mind as you set up your scene, and it really adds a lot of realism. You know, when you look at Milika there, you wonder what she's thinking. You know, just her eyes looking up like that really adds some intrigue to the scene. So keep that in mind. All right, until next time, I hope you have a lovely day.